Qinghai Lake, Kokonor Tsongon Po is the largest lake in the People's Republic of China, located in Qinghai Province on an endorheic basin. Qinghai Lake is classified as a saline and alkaline lake. Qinghai Lake has a surface area of 4,317 square km, an average depth of 21 meters, and a maximum depth of 25.5 meters as measured in 2008. The current Chinese name, Qinghai, the older Mongolian name Kokonor, and the Tibetan name translate to Green Sea, Blue Lake, and Teal Sea, respectively. Qinghai Lake is located about 100 kilometers west of the provincial capital of Xining at 3,205 meters above sea level in a hollow of the Tibetan Plateau. 23 rivers and streams empty into Qinghai Lake, most of them seasonal. 5 permanent streams provide 80% of total influx. The lake has fluctuated in size, shrinking over much of the 20th century, but has increased since 2004. Despite its salinity, it has an abundance of fish, such as the edible naked carp. Geography: Qinghai Lake is sandwiched between Hainan and Hebei Tibetan autonomous prefectures in northeastern Qinghai. The lake is located at the crossroads of several bird migration routes across Asia. Many species use Qinghai as an intermediate stop during migration. As such, it is a focal point in global concerns regarding avian influenza, as a major outbreak here could spread the virus across Europe and Asia, further increasing the chances of a pandemic. Minor outbreaks of H5N1 have already been identified at the lake. At the tip of the peninsula on the western side of the lake are the Bird Islands, which have been bird sanctuaries of the Qinghai Lake Natural Protection Zone since 1997. The lake often remains frozen for 3 months, continuously in winter. There is an island in the western part of the lake with a temple and a few hermitages called Mahadeva, the heart of the lake, which historically was home to a Buddhist monastery. No boat was used during summer, so monks and pilgrims travel to and fro only when the lake froze over in winter. A nomad described the size of the island by saying that, if in the morning a she-goat starts to browse the grass around it clockwise and its kid anti-clockwise, they will meet only in the night, which shows how big the island is. Quote, "It is also known as the place where Qinghai Khan and other Koshut Mongols migrated to during the 1620s. The lake is circumambulated by pilgrims, mainly Tibetan Buddhists, especially every horse year of the 12-year cycle. Przewalski estimated it would take about 8 days by horse or 15 walking to circumambulate the lake, but pilgrims report it takes about 18 days on horseback, and one took 23 days walking to complete the circuit. History: in the Han Dynasty, Qinghai Lake was called the West Sea, and substantial numbers of Han Chinese lived in the Xining Valley. In the 17th century, Mongolic-speaking Oirat and Kaka tribals migrated to Qinghai and became known as Qinghai Mongols. In 1724, the Qinghai Mongols led by Lobzang Dunjin revolted against China's Qing dynasty. The Yongzheng emperor, after putting down the rebellion, stripped away Qinghai's autonomy and imposed direct rule. Although some Tibetans lived around the lake, the king maintained an administrative division from the time of Gushi Khan between the Dalai Lama's western realm and the Tibetan inhabited areas. In the east, Yongzheng also sent Manchu and Han settlers to dilute the Mongols. During nationalist rule, Hans formed a majority of Qinghai province's residents, although we dominated the government. The Kuomintang Hui General Ma Bufang, having invited Kazakh Muslims, joined the governor of Qinghai and other high-ranking Qinghai national government officials in conducting a joint Kokonor Lake ceremony to worship the god of the lake. During the ritual, the Chinese national anthem was sung. All participants bowed to a portrait of Kuomintang Party founder Dr. Sun Yat-sen, as well as to the god of the lake. Participants, both Han and Muslim, made offerings to the god. After the 1949 Chinese Revolution, refugees from the 1950s anti-rightist movement settled in the area west of Qinghai Lake. After the Chinese economic reform in the 1980s, drawn by new business opportunities, migration to the area increased, causing ecological stresses. Fresh grass production in Gangcha County north of the lake declined from a mean of 2,057 kilograms per hectare to 1,271 in 1987. In 2001, the State Forestry Administration of China launched the Retire Cropland, Restore Grasslands campaign and started confiscating Tibetan and Mongol pastoralists' guns allegedly in order to preserve the endangered Prulski's gazelle. Splitting. Prior to the 1960s, 108 freshwater rivers emptied into the lake. As of 2003, 85% of the river mouths have dried up, including the lake's largest tributary, the Buhar River. In between 1959 and 1982, there had been an annual water level drop of 10 centimeters, which was reversed at a rate of 10 centimeters per year between 1983 and 1989, but has continued to drop since. The Chinese Academy of Sciences reported in 1998 the lake was again threatened with loss of surface area due to livestock overgrazing, land reclamations and natural causes. Surface area decreased 11.7% in the period from 1908 to 2000. During that period, higher lake floor areas were exposed and numerous water bodies separated from the rest of the main lake. In the 1960s, the 48.9 square kilometers Qinghai Lake appeared in the North Shadao Lake, covering an area of 19.6 square kilometers to the northeast. Followed in the 1980s, along with Haiyuan Lake of 112.5 square kilometers. Another 96.7 square kilometers daughter lake split off in 2004. In addition, the lake has now split into half a dozen more small lakes at the border. The water surface has shrunk by 312 square kilometers over the last 3 decades.